The Sengi holds a map of its trails in its mind so that in emergencies it can cut corners that dive for cover. Even a brush with death doesn't put a Sengi off its food. Like all small insect hunters, it needs to constantly fuel its internal fires. That is especially important when they're young to feed. Incredibly, this Sengi is only a few hours old. Few mammals are born as well developed as a baby Sengi, and this gives them a crucial survival edge. Daytime in the African bush is no place for the helpless. Sengis are born to run. Its appetite for milk is unquenchable, for growing at this speed gives it constant hunger. Its mother has nipples near her shoulders, which makes them easier to reach and presumably helps a quick getaway. The baby will take solid food from its mother on its very first day, if it gets a chance. With continued help from its mother, the youngster will be almost fully grown within a week and be able to run as fast as her along their racetracks. Catching insects one by one takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and very few creatures that feed that way can get enough to build and sustain big bodies. But some insect eaters early in their history, about 40 million years ago, solved that problem by broadening their diet. And one of their descendants lives right here in my garden in London, and I can tempt it out with a wide variety of food, including, for example, minced meat. The hedgehog is still very much a creature of the night, but it's too big to hide in the leaf litter. That makes it vulnerable to attack from animals like foxes. To make up for this, its hairs have become a cloak of prickles. And if it thinks it's in real danger, it's got a special trick. The hedgehog will stay an impregnable spiny ball like this until it decides that danger has passed. But one thing is guaranteed to make a male hedgehog drop his guard: the promise of an amorous liaison. If you're outside on a spring evening, you may be lucky enough to witness an extraordinary sight. You might think that having a coat of spines on your back would be something of a handicap. Belly to belly. The male noses the female. whether the female flattens her prickles to help the male is unclear, but it does seem that the old joke that asks, how do hedgehogs mate, was right all along. The answer is, of course, with great care. The early American insect eaters also needed to protect themselves, but they did so not with spines, but with armour plating. Armadillos, like hedgehogs, grew large by broadening their diet. Their tastes change with the seasons. Fruit is easy to collect, but the nine-banded armadillo is not very fastidious and will pick up anything that looks edible. It still eats insects, but ants present it with a problem. Its armour may protect it from large predators, but it isn't particularly good defence against small prey. One extraordinary African insect hunter has no such trouble. It's a pangolin. Those horny scales, like the hedgehog's prickles, are made from modified hair. Its front claws are so big that they're useless for walking. Instead, it trundles along on its hind legs, balancing its torso with its tail. Its front claws are reserved for digging up ants. As it does so, it swallows stones. They accumulate in its muscular stomach and help to grind up the ants. But these small underground ant colonies are mere snacks to a pangolin. This is a real meal, a full-sized ant's nest. There are 1 million or so of them here. The pangolin smashes through the nest wall with formidable power. Only an adult has the strength to do this. So young ones have to stay with their mother, feeding in her wake until they're big enough to dig for themselves. The angry ants swarm all over their attacker, but the pangolin's armour is a very effective defence. Its eyes are protected by thick lids, and both its nostrils and its ears have special valves to keep the biting insects out. For its size, the pangolin has the longest tongue of any mammal, and the stickiest saliva. But mammals didn't always have ant colonies to feed on. The rise of social insects 60 million years after the first mammals was a landmark in evolution. It was then that termites and ants started to build huge nests, each containing millions of individuals. Here was so much food that insect eaters could grow big. Termites in the Americas, just as there are in Africa. So, of course, there are termite eaters too. And here in Brazil is the biggest of them all, the giant anteater.